Mic check, mic check, mic check. Crypto Monday San Juan, Crypto Monday San Juan. Let me get a round of applause, let me get a round of applause, please. Give a little love, man. These guys come from all the way from DC. This guy put his bow tie on for us. Jay's up here on stage, man. Let me get a little love, man. Crypto Monday, she's wearing a skirt. Let me get a little love, man. Welcome to San Juan. Welcome to San Juan, everybody. My name is Pedro Rivera. I'm your host of Crypto Monday San Juan. I'm blessed and grateful here to be joined by a couple of big shot DC attorneys. You know, at least they're in that area. You know, they come from Keiko's world. So Keiko and the Puerto Rican Blockchain Trade Association, let's give them a round of applause, please. All right, so starting to my left here, please, Jill, go ahead and introduce yourself and, you know, make yourself be known to everyone up here and tell them how, you know, we're going to gracefully do this up here.
All right, so I'm Jill Williamson. Ooh, really loud. Well, I don't actually usually need a mic. Do I need a mic? Use the mic, use the mic. I'm an attorney. I live in Chicago. I have been
You used to live in Chicago. We're drafting her to Puerto Rico.
Until half an hour ago, I lived in Chicago.
I confirmed that she's moving to Puerto Rico. And then we start doing the due diligence on. You guys let me know if he's approved, you know, at the end of the show. But she's moving.
So I've been working with blockchain Web3 companies since about 2017. I come from a white-collar defense, corporate compliance background.
We would have never guessed.
And so, anyway, I started working with this company. All of the founders were younger than my own child. They needed somebody with anti-money laundering experience. I started working with them before they even founded their company. They're still in business. So that's not nothing.
So I got a couple questions here, because you know Crypto Mondays. I don't know if you've ever seen one of our episodes. You guys probably wasn't prepared for any of this shit, but I'm gonna let you guys know. We like to be entertaining and knowledgeable here. But I want to ask you a question as I'm just sitting here thinking about this. Where did they come up with the concept white collar crime, and how did this work, and where's that phrase come from? It's so interesting to me.
People ask me what's white collar crime. I say white collar crime is the crime committed by anybody who has enough money to hire a big law firm to represent them. Bill might have a different opinion on that, but I know when I worked at Big Law, we represented some people on some stuff that was not white collar, but we still called it white collar crime.
Well, before we let Bill start answering, let me pass the mic over to Bill. Bill, please introduce yourself to our guest as well today. Give him a round of applause, Mr. Bill Hughes.
Hi, I'm Bill Hughes. I am with a law firm called Porzio, Bromberg & Newman. I'm down here with two of my partners, Fred Brunetti and Marty Healy. Both of whom are excellent lawyers. I started my career in the United States Justice Department.
Feds.
Feds. I worked on a case called United States versus Microsoft.
We would have never guessed.
Exactly. The bow tie, it gives it away. Then I was a federal prosecutor.
I would have never guessed that
either. I know. And then I practiced law for 15 years in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Isn't that special? Isn't it? They always have this interesting career path. How they go work for the feds and they come out and work against the feds and they get paid a bunch of money for it.
You know, I worked for such interesting characters as Donald Trump.
This tells me that you got really good clients, right? They pay good money.
Well, Donald Trump paying his lawyers. He pays his lawyers now. Well, look. One of the things about criminal defense...
If you was Donald Trump's lawyer, you didn't get no money, bro. We gotta teach you the building department or something. Mathematics.
I know, exactly. That's exactly.
I mean, I thought the lawyers were the only people he did pay, like, honestly.
No, he stipped his lawyers more than he stipped anybody else. But right. not today. You know, look, if he stips his criminal defense attorneys, he's standing in that courtroom alone.
And he's going to be our next president, damn it. Get him a round of applause, Mr. Donald Trump. We see him in office in 2024.
There you go. So, yeah, there you go.
Who the fuck else we gonna get? Sleepy Joe? The fucking guy's asleep. Who the fuck, man? We gotta stand up sometimes, man. The guy might be a diaper. But I take the racist fuck that want to build a wall over somebody's gonna be asleep and shit while people. No, we can't do it.
You live in Dubai. I mean,
Don't matter. That's why I moved to fucking Dubai. The fucking guy got me nervous and shit.
So, but from there, I worked at Porzio, and I represent companies, tech companies. I've done a lot in the corporate space. I have a Master's of Law and Taxation, and I deal with companies.
That's somebody who's had several $billion exits.
Yeah.
Give her an applause from the park. She likes
Exactly.
she likes optimization strategies.
So how many people here have had in business those oh shit moments?
Oh.
Those moments where you're like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do?
If you had it, you was just an employee sitting there just taking orders and following orders and thinking the world was okay. Because everybody who's on the business of life has these regularly, right?
Right, you have it. It's what you do and how to prevent them. And people like Jill, people like me, Marty and Fred, we're here.
You're a round of applause for Marty and Fred too, damn it. I'm sure you guys can't guess who's Marty and Fred in the crowd if you look around. But go ahead.
Somebody just had to explain to Marty what a token generation event, what a TGE was, but that's okay. It's all good. But it's great being down here. I've been in Puerto Rico doing business on behalf of Porzio, on behalf of the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico and the people of Puerto Rico since 2018. Actually, 2017, when we first started working and interfacing on behalf of the people of Puerto Rico with the Trump administration.
Same guy you see, you don't want to. Oh man, this guy.
Well, you know, you do what you got to do. You do what for the people of Puerto Rico. You do everything that you can.
Trump had some good paper towels for us.
He had some great. That's an interesting story, and Luis Portillo was there for it. But we have been down here working on behalf of the people of Puerto Rico, trying to provide whatever help we can, and working with Jill and Keiko and the Blockchain Association. We've done some good. And thank you very much for having us here.
No, it's my pleasure, man. Let's give a round of applause to Ms. Keiko. Keiko, at any point you want to take over this interview, ask some serious questions, you feel free to do so. But I've got a bunch of funny shit online. So let me go refer to my notes here. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about compliance and U.S. and you guys are attorneys and token sales in the U.S. and how the hell we can do some business in the United States of America. You guys are lawyers here, right? How is it, where do you see the United States as like where we are in that place? I know the ETFs has made a big impact, right? Like in terms of the acceptance and between the alphabet boys who have a little bit of discrepancy as how they identify crypto, right? And ultimately how it's defined.
They can't decide.
They can't decide, right? The United States, one of the biggest problems that we have is our government's too big, right? And there's too many people that have too many roles over various complex subjects such as digital assets. That makes it very difficult for us to progress legally. Right, and of course our laws being as complex as they are, they don't get any less complex. We get layers and layers on top of more complexity. So it's very difficult to unravel. That's why emerging markets that have cleaner slates are able to build regulation quicker, right, and adopt newer technologies faster. So where did we see the United States like in that regard? We've given that very same fact because I can tell you as an entrepreneur in our space, the overwhelming majority of that entrepreneurs that I know look to do business in other markets because of that. So I'll let Jill, you can go first, and I'll let you answer as well.
It's a big question.
I mean, we don't just look good, but we got good questions too.
Fair.
Not just funny.
I didn't mean to judge you.
Yeah.
So I think, if you're just a token project or just a DeFi project, the environment's still going to be tough. I don't think there's any relief in sight in the U.S. in the near future. For projects that are, for which the token is, a legitimate utility token. It's a network access token, it's a protocol access token, it has what's called consumptive utility. A lot of projects now are, taking a very conservative, proactive approach with a 12-month lockup, which treats the token as if it were a security, but that also means that after the 12 months is over, you can trade that token freely. For those that are focused on tokens for their revenue generation, both from the purchaser standpoint or from the project standpoint, that's not ideal, right? A 12-month lockup is not the kind of return that you're looking for on the time frames you're looking for. So you know, like I said, if you're really focused on tokens, if you're really focused on finance or DeFi, I don't see any change there in the near future. The legislation isn't going to be passed for years. You know, the SEC is still where the SEC is. The CFTC is still where the CFTC is.
And who the hell knows where the IRS is?
Who knows where the IRS is? The IRS doesn't know from day to day. The FinCEN, anti-money laundering, you know, that's only going to get tougher. OFAC's only going to get tougher. So everything that's a peer token play or a DeFi play, none of that's going to get easier.
And I agree with that. But to add on top, yeah, I know exactly. One of the biggest dangers, I think.
You guys have trouble agreeing often?
We often agree and we often disagree.
Who wins when you disagree?
I always defer to Jill.
Whoever's right.
Smart man.
I have 3 older sisters. I learned by the 4 words of survival. I'm sorry, you're right.
Are you married, sir?
Yes, I am.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
But I think that the CFTC, the SEC, this Congress, they're not passing anything.
They ain't doing shit.
Right? They're not doing anything.
Can we get one of them down here at Crypto Monday stage to talk to me? What's the Ginzer guy? Ginseng, what's his name? Gary? Gensler. Gary, I apologize, Mr. Ginseng. I'm not trying to be offensive, but can you just answer some basic questions to like some of the people, and how can we get started?
I mean, when he went before Congress, when he went before Congress, they asked him, "Can you tell us if its token is a security?" And he said no. And if the chairman of the SEC can't tell, it's a problem.
And they don't understand it to begin with. On top of that, you have some issuers out there that are trying to masquerade, utility tokens as something else, or vice versa. And Jill brought up one thing that I think is underestimated, and we have to think about, and that's OFAC. All right, that is the Office of Foreign Asset Control. You know the Russian sanctions?
Well, everybody knows OFAC after Tornado Cash.
Right.
Before Tornado Cash, I don't think probably most of the crypto community couldn't spell OFAC, but now most of them can.
I'm dealing with them in 5 cases right now. All right, and this is what dealing with OFAC is like. It's sending an email to an anonymous email Dropbox and then being ignored for 5 months. That's what it's like. And by the way, you can't really challenge it in court. You don't have any rights. And it's very, very dangerous. And the problem is that many anonymous state actors are using crypto, they're using blockchain to fund their bad activities. And they're wrapping up honest, decent business people in the process, in what's happening. And that's an issue. And that's going to continue to be an issue until we get people on Capitol Hill, people in the White House that actually understand and have a vision of what we can do and where DeFi can go.
Maybe, just a guess, maybe they can get people up there that dress a bit differently. And I mean this. I'm so serious. And I don't mean this to be like,
In bow ties?
No, the bow ties is cool, homie. You dress for your position immaculately. You on par with your brand, right? And I will tell you, this brother here is 57 years old. He looks fucking amazing for his age. Give him a round of applause. I'm so serious. It might be whatever it is. You want to have fun in life. This is a true formula, by the way, of looking young and being young, right? It's having fun and enjoying your life. And if you don't have fun in your life, man, you're going to make some changes. I didn't say you didn't look young, love. I was just, you got offended here. Well, let me make sure we get it on the same pace as well. I think you told me he was older than you, right? Right. I just honestly did not place this brother to be in his late 50s. He's almost, you know what I mean? Like, white people usually spoil a little quicker, you know, like with milk. You know what I mean? It's like milk, you know, it's not their fault, you know? Milk goes a little faster than coffee. You can leave coffee out for a little while. It's not, but y'all got all, look, fuck that. Y'all got all the white privilege in the world, okay? So we just got fucking melanin, alright? Y'all wanna trade? No, right? Okay. So I'll take the 800 credit score any fucking day of the week. I'm just joking about it, man. But anyway, you did, okay. So next question, Keiko, let's see what Keiko's got, because I'm giving Keiko a heart attack over there. Given your background and experience, what is the best advice you can give to our Web3 startups? Keiko for the save.
Wear sunscreen.
Wait, sunscreen. Great advice, especially if the startup is in the Caribbean. You should wear sunscreen. You'll get sunburn for sure. But oh man. But specifically, they are going to give formation answers and need to consult lawyers early. You give me to answer the question too. You're not supposed to give me the answer to the question, Keiko. How am I supposed to give it to them? You should text them the answer and text me the question.
Ladies and gentlemen, Keiko Yoshino.
Next question. Okay, next question. Let's see, next question. Jill, you had a case recently with control of liability. Can you talk about this and what the community should know? Okay.
So I did. Actually, I was just talking about it. Before I moved to Chicago, I was in Seattle, and I represented a couple of directors of a local company there called R-Chain. And can you guys still hear me?
Try this one, it's louder. I'm just used to using microphones.
Like I said, I'm usually loud enough. I don't use them that often. But I represented a couple of directors, and it really brought home to me a facet of securities law, which is different than most other regulatory frameworks. And that's that if you commit a securities law violation, so that's an unregistered offering or a material misstatement or omission, they don't just go after the company. They go after what's called control persons. And control persons are basically anybody who took the decision to issue the security, or anybody who took the decision or was involved in the decision to make the material misstatement or omission. In Washington State, the statute actually says all directors and officers are by definition control persons unless you can prove that you didn't know or couldn't have known what was happening. So
Would that come down to like the executive team as well, not just the directors? And
no, absolutely. It comes down to the executive committee. So what that means is when you're taking that risk decision, like if you decide, we're going to breach this contract, or if you decide, we're going to even not register as a money transmitter, 9 times out of 10, that liability goes only to the company, not to the individuals. Exceptions, always exceptions, depending on your individual role. But by and large, that's company risk, because you're acting as an employee of that company. It's company risk. For securities law, it's also your individual risk. So if you decide to YOLO it and you go, well, they're never going to catch me. The other problem is it's not about them catching you, right? Because your investors can sue you. So you don't have to wait for the SEC to find out and care. You only have to wait for one of your investors to lose enough money to be pissed off enough to sue you. And then they go after not just you, not just your business, but you personally. That means your life savings, that means your house, that means your car. That's your personal assets on the line if you decide to YOLO it and issue a token and figure you're never going to get caught. And I just think it's something, again, like it was really brought home to me when I represented those directors. Each of them ended up not having to pay damages. They ended up being not responsible. They were each out like $500,000 in legal fees by the time they were declared not responsible for what happened. So even though they won, it still sucked. And a bunch of, a number of the other directors and officers of the company were out the legal fees and damages. So they were down, one of them was down $1.5 million out of his own personal pocket. So, it's really an area, it's like I said, something that I think isn't talked about enough when folks are making decisions about, whether they care, if their token is a security or whether they're doing a securities offering.
Great. Bill.
And by the way, I am just a professional wet blanket, so sorry. It's the job. Bring everybody down. Nobody's laughing anymore.
Don't worry, they got me here. I'm going to kick it back up. Bill.
Yes.
We have had a lot of startups. How important are basic corporate formation practices? A lot of us didn't go to B school. Does it really matter? This doesn't sound like my question, does it? That's because it's not. It's fucking Keiko's. Yeah, so, Bill, startups.
Startups.
Yes.
Look, you talk about the control, she just talked about the control issue. You get a bunch of guys together and they have a great idea. And you have a great idea for a token, you got a cool white paper and everything's going on.
Launch in Gibraltar.
You say, wait a minute, you're going to be the CEO. And
not in the United States, I'm not.
You're going to be the CEO, you're going to be the president, and we're going to be on the board of directors, and it's going to be cool, man. And that's not really how it works.
No.
Okay, you need corporate formalities. You need, if you're going to have a corporation, right, you're going to need a board of directors. You're going to have meetings. You're going to have minutes. You're going to have evidence of everything that you do, every dollar that you come in from every investor and every term that is promised to that investor. Everything should be in writing. Nothing should be left up to, we'll take care of it later. Because what happens? Something goes wrong and the fingers start pointing.
Or something goes right. Now everybody's,
right.
Now there's, $10 million and all of a sudden.
And then you have a Facebook.
How many people been a part of a successful team that has raised capital before? Raise your hand. In the crypto space, put your hand up. In the crypto space, like you've been a part of, if you've been a part of, or if you've successfully funded a team, right? Anyone who's had this experience before, and obviously better you as well, would know. And Casper might be the one team that might be an exception, honestly, because I do know your team very well. But ultimately, almost 100% out of 100%, as soon as they raise capital, back to your point, is when the beef begins. That's when the fighting starts. That's when everybody hates each other and everybody has great ideas. Especially the teams that raise like hundreds of millions of dollars. That's when all of a sudden everybody thought that they're the absolute pro of how the budget should be managed, and that's when the real beef begins.
And Stan Bankman-Fried, yeah, it was a fraud case, but he failed to honor corporate formalities. He failed to honor the basic corporate formalities. And
how did he get away with this shit so long? Like, how is it possible for him to just moving people's money around and doing what the hell he wanted with no, like...
Because everybody is making money, the money is coming in, and he is this really smart guy, and nobody wanted to say no. Nobody wanted to say no to the guy who is responsible for bringing this in. And sure, why not? Why would you do that? Look, it'll work itself out. No, you don't work itself out. And look, if you're going to borrow money for your own hedge fund, okay, fine.
In my own house in the Bahamas.
What's that?
In my own house in the Bahamas, and the jet take us there, and the yacht for us to play on when we get there.
Yeah, but you paper it, and you
I like this guy. We need to get him on our team. You paper it up.
You paper it, and you make sure that you're transparent about it, and you put commercially reasonable terms on it, and then you put guardrails up so that if you blow that money, you're not going to get any more money.
And so they're not going to take the house, the yacht, and the plane.
That's right.
Okay, I like it. We got him. His due diligence is passed. Bottom line, that's how we feel shit out.
There you go.
He's the right kind of Fed. We like these kind of Feds. So, all right, we got to be careful here what kind of Feds we let through the door. We're at San Juan here. There's pirates down here.
Pirates night?
There's pirates. You never seen Pirates of the Caribbean? Where do you think it was filmed at, homie?
I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, well, we're in Pirates of the Caribbean. Arg. But yeah, so back to piracy, that is taxation without representation of the American government and all the outlet agencies who claim to say that they represent us and truly don't represent me. What are we doing about the problem that exists in our industry where we can't? I'm so serious about that, man. How do we make any progress? I really think the United States is really lacking an opportunity. I don't know, they is a big word, right? Because as you know, government is fragmented.
Yes.
Right? So it's not one person who's they that really has, I really think benevolent dictatorship is the best form of government that exists in the world. I swear to God, I'm telling the truth. And anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, they probably should dig into it more. The challenge with benevolent dictatorship is you don't know who the fuck their kids are going to be. But that guy is going to be, if that guy's awesome, your country's going to do amazing. This is the biggest problem we have, is too many people when we say they, right? So when we say that the problem exists with the U.S. government about, like, how can we solve this and maybe making some progress to where entrepreneurs aren't thinking like, you know, the overall majority of entrepreneurs I know in the space aren't trying to break American law. It's just very difficult and complex to do projects in the U.S. and they make it overly convoluted, expensive, and sometimes downright impossible, right? Especially to define certain utility types of utility tokens when you could do it in Gibraltar for $50 in a PO box, right? So it's like ease of business is always going to get innovation. Right? And then you have countries that are looking for innovators and wealth. And when you have these blockchain companies that become massive, that creates massive opportunities for these smaller market cap countries. Right? And that's why you see this explosion of growth in a variety of markets that are receptive to these different types of innovation. You've seen the same thing in Cyprus and in Malta in the early 2000s when online gambling became a thing. Those countries, those island nations became extremely developed. Right? So the same concept is happening now in blockchain in a variety of markets as well.
Well, they've also become hubs for money laundering.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's what happens in gambling, right? But I'm just saying it just because I'm not a proponent of money laundering. Let me be clear. I have no desire to break any laws in the United States or anywhere else in the world. I'm just saying the United States laws are very complex.
They are.
They are so complex, and I think this industry faces some challenges with respect to U.S. law that are really unique to the industry. I think, you know, in most other industries, it takes a lot longer to build, it takes a lot more money to go from idea to launch, right? In blockchain, they get an idea, like I have clients that call me on Monday and say, I just thought of a new thing, you know, can you do terms of service? I want to launch on Friday. Like, they're ready to go in less than a week from whenever they just thought of the thing, right? Like, they've got their dev team working, like they're ready to go. And I never want legal to be the holdup, but sometimes legal's the holdup because I can't turn stuff around in a week. And there aren't a lot of other industries that can get, you know, that work with that speed. And then when you add into it sort of, you know, the number of people in the industry who are young, who haven't worked before, who haven't worked in other companies before, who are, you know, tech focused, but they've never run a company. And, you know, they're tech focused and they've, you know, never written a contract. They've maybe never, I've got clients that, you know, rent their first apartments after they've launched their company. You know, that's another challenge, right? And then, because there are so many companies in the space doing stuff that's outside the law, like legitimately, no question, not a gray area outside the law. Unlike any other industry, you know, in another industry you can look around and say, well, they're doing this, and they've been doing this for 10 years, and they're not in trouble.
And they haven't got caught, yeah.
So maybe there's a model there where I don't need to hire a lawyer because I can trust that if this company has been openly conducting the business in this way, that maybe my company's okay, right? In this space, you can't do that. You know, you can't look around. Like I had clients last week say, well, we want to launch a token. And I was like, well, your token's not a utility token. That's not going to work. And they, well, what about Uniswap? And I said, well, the Uniswap story's not told yet. And guess what? The Uniswap, you know, it was announced last week that Uniswap is under investigation. And so, you know, in Uniswap, they're extremely well lawyered. They're very well established. They're not new in the space. They know what they're doing. But what's different from Uniswap for my clients is Uniswap can afford to fight. So Uniswap might be right, and they can afford to prove it. My clients can't afford to have to prove that they're right. You know, if the
Your client needs to skip the U.S. jurisdiction and block all U.S. IP addresses and just do business elsewhere in the world.
Absolutely, and that's the advice that I give clients often.
a set.
But that's a particular challenge in this industry, which you really don't see in many other industries. If you can't look around at projects that have been operating openly and successfully for years and have confidence that what they're doing is legal.
But skipping the U.S. markets also means sometimes skipping